Thank you all for joining us today for today's webinar with the United States Coast Guard. My name is Edward James, and I'm going to do a little housekeeping and also introduction of our guest speakers. On the housekeeping piece, I would like to ask that let me start off with, thank you, of course, on behalf of BidExecs and ProposalHelper and the United States Coast Guard for joining us, and for additional information, please be aware that you're going to receive this deck that we present on today. You should receive it within the next 24 hours. And there will be team members as far as on this call, as far as to answer some of the questions that you may have. As far as when it comes to questions, would you please insert those questions in the Q&A box? And in the chat box, we'd like to utilize that for networking. So network within the chat box and place all of your questions inside of the Q&A box. Now, as for our guest speakers, we have Jennifer Souza and also Michelle Rangel as far as our guest speakers for today's webinar. And a little bit more about them. Michelle has been a member of the United States Coast Guard Office of Procurement, Procurement and Policy Oversight, Innovation and Industry Outreach Division since 2019. Prior to coming to the Small Business and Liaison Program side, she was part of the Purchase Card Program for the Coast Guard. Her family is retired Coast Guard and takes pride in being part of the United States Coast Guard mission. She also enjoys focusing on improving relationships between the United States Coast Guard and small hub zone 8A minority-owned businesses, along with veteran and women-owned businesses. Her favorite part of her profession is meeting with industry to help direct and guide them in ways to doing business with the Coast Guard. She is working as a program manager for several projects to improve mitigate the small business and industry communications and core programs. Our other guest speaker, again, Jennifer Souza, is actually going to be sitting in for Nettie. Jennifer is also a part of the Coast Guard Office of Procurement and Policy and Oversight. Now, I would like to bring on board, as far as our speakers, if you would, let me pause that for a moment. If you would, Michelle, I'll get you started with a little introduction of why we're here today. And then, of course, I know that we're going to have quite a few questions.
Absolutely. So thank you, Mr. James, for the great introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. We wish to definitely extend a special thank you to the SBA Advocacy Group. We really enjoy doing these with you guys, and it's been great. We've had a few times that we've already done this with you. So I believe this is our second time, but we're very excited. And we are looking forward to sharing information on doing business with the Coast Guard. We encourage conversation. We want this to be interactive, so please ask questions. Team members, like Mr. James said, will be monitoring the chat throughout the presentation. Just a side note, we will not be addressing any procurement-specific questions. And also, if we miss answering any of your questions, please feel free to email us at our openforbusiness@uscg.mil. Next slide. So today's presentation, we're going to provide insight of the United States Coast Guard mission, the types of products and services that we buy, and how we buy them. We will include an overview of our 6 procurement centers, which we call COCOs, and recommendations on how you can prepare to do business with us. Additionally, we will feature some Coast Guard unique innovations, as well as resources and outreach activities that we have. Throughout the presentation and slides, you'll see that there are QR codes that have been embedded allowing you to rapidly connect with more in-depth information. So those QR codes will have some great links for you guys to get to, our DCMS site, different areas that you could get into, including like OSDBU and all of DHS. It's more in depth, and the resources are there for specific topics. We encourage you to explore these various sites to learn more about the Coast Guard. And after today's presentation, as Mr. James has said, the SBA Advocacy will send over those slides for you. Next slide, please. So this is our small but mighty team. There isn't that many of us at the in the industry outreach and innovation area. However, please know that there are small business specialists that go out throughout all of the Coast Guard. So there are more of us, but this is my team, and we do a lot and oversee all of the contracting offices, small business team. Maria Kersey Robinson, she's our director, and she is a slew of information, and she does everything industry outreach and innovation. Today, I have my colleague Jennifer Souza Madura, who actually just joined our team, and so she definitely needs a picture, and so we will add that on our next slides. She works with small business and also the subcontracting program. Her and I will be tag teaming today's presentation. So for now, I'm going to actually turn it over to her so that she could go over the next few slides. Jen, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Micheline, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having us and putting this together. So the United States Coast Guard mission, what do we do? So as you know, the Coast Guard is one of 6 U.S. Armed Forces. So the mission of the Coast Guard is to ensure our nation's maritime safety, our security, and stewardship. Changing environmental conditions continue to affect how and where the Coast Guard conducts its missions. As each year, the Coast Guard responds to a growing number of severe weather events such as hurricanes and catastrophic flooding. Additionally, the Coast Guard is increasingly called upon to prevent and respond to emerging cyber threats that could disrupt our ports and waterways. Industry partnerships are vital to the Coast Guard's strategic plan priorities. Next slide. The Coast Guard manages 6 major operational mission programs. The operational mission programs oversee 11 missions codified in the Homeland Security Act of 2002. This act delineates the 11 missions as Homeland Security or non-Homeland Security missions. I will touch upon each of these missions. The first one is the Maritime Law Enforcement Mission Program. So this protects America's maritime borders, defends our nation's maritime sovereignty, facilitates legitimate use of the waterways, and suppresses violations of U.S. federal law on, under, or over the seas, to include illegal migration and transnational organized crime. The second one, the Maritime Response Mission Program, seeks to mitigate the consequences of marine casualties and disastrous events. The third one, the Maritime Prevention Mission Program, seeks to prevent maritime casualties and property losses, minimize security risks, and protect the marine environment. And the fourth, the Marine Transportation System Management Mission Program, seeks to ensure a safe, secure, and environmentally sound waterway system. The Coast Guard works in concert with other federal, state, local, tribal, and territorial agencies, the marine industry, maritime associations, and the international community to safeguard the efficient and economical movement of $5.4 trillion in overall economic activity flowing through the nation's ports and waterways. The fifth, the Maritime Security Operations Mission Program, encompasses activities to detect, deter, prevent, and disrupt terrorist attacks and other criminal acts in our maritime domain. Finally, the sixth, the Defense Operations Mission Program, exercises the Coast Guard's unique authorities and capabilities to support the National Defense Strategy. Other responsibilities include providing products and services for the intelligence community, conducting activities and efforts to advance U.S. diplomacy, international relations, cybersecurity, bridge administration, Great Lakes, and other waterways management. Next slide. The U.S. Coast Guard acquisition. So what and how do we buy? The Coast Guard's mission capabilities, so saving lives, interdicting smugglers and illegal migrants, enforcing our nation's laws and treaties, and protecting our ports and national resources. This derives from the readiness of our fleets of our cutters, boats, aircraft, and command control communication, computers, cyber intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance systems that all link together. During the last few decades, the Coast Guard's readiness has been challenged by its reliance on outdated assets and shore infrastructure. The cost of sustaining these assets continues to rise, while their reliability declines. The Coast Guard must replace these with state-of-the-art market assets that will continue to deliver high-quality service to the American people. How do we accomplish this? Well, in order to accomplish this, the Coast Guard mission and in support of the President's management agenda, we are continuously seeking opportunities to promote and develop strategies for increasing the industrial base of our contracting program, while adhering to the federal small business regulations and ensuring diversity, equity, inclusion in the procurement process. To ensure we do more to support small business participation, we encourage new entrants to the federal contracting by initiating market research early, engage industry through one-on-one vendor meetings, requests for information, our industry days, and innovation roundtables, to name a few. There are some links, Micheline, if you'd like to add those in, that will be really helpful for some additional information.
And well, this is me, Jennifer. On the screen, of course, I have what and how we buy. The link that is embedded here, will that take our participants directly to information as far as when we're talking about RFIs and sources sought? And another really big one is industry days, as far as being able to prepare to attend those industry days.
Yes, so those links are going to take you to some of the information, right, that I was discussing, and also where you'll find those, posts for requests for information and industry days is on those government point of entry sites that we'll discuss a little bit later. But yes, sir, we'll be able to provide some of those open market links. Okay,
thank you.
So you're welcome. The U.S. Coast Guard buying continuum. So as you can see, our buying continuum is diverse. And the U.S. Coast Guard's budget priorities are twofold. So number one, right, generate sustained readiness, resilience, and capability. So the Coast Guard will transform the total workforce, sharpen our competitive edge, and advance our mission excellence to enhance the nation's maritime safety, security, and prosperity. Two, build the Coast Guard of the future. The service is in the midst of the largest recapitalization effort since World War II, an effort critical to ensuring the service has capable, modern assets in its workforce needs to meet the unprecedented growth and demand for Coast Guard services. Additionally, as the service deploys larger and more capable assets, resilient recapitalization projects such as piers and waterside support facilities that are vital to the mission and success. To support these priorities, the FY24 budget requested $10.22 billion in operational and support and $1.5 billion in procurement, construction, and improvements type funds. And we'll be able to provide that link to the U.S. Coast Guard budget as well. Next slide. What you're going to see here is a great tool that actually looks at federal government spending in detail. And this is called GSA's Data to Decisions Government-Wide Category Management Report. So this is a public dashboard, and it is a series of dashboards and tools to support stakeholders in the full category management lifecycle. This provides historical data, and it's available starting with fiscal year 2020 actions. These snapshots depict the aggregate and by category spending in FY22, and they can be found in the D2D Common and Defense-Centric Spend dashboard. So what I really like about this dashboard is you can see through the use of the PSC Finder tab, and it can match products and services that your company provides to the applicable category in order to see how or what the Coast Guard is spending to help focus your company's capabilities to the Coast Guard needs. To talk a little bit more about how the Coast Guard spends and our top makes and PSC codes, Micheline, would you like to take over?
Sure will. Just that FYI, for some reason, it is not letting me copy and paste the links. So of course, I'm trying to do this on my MacBook, so it might be a little different. So if you could just plug those in for me, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. So next slide, please. What we buy. So as you can see, the Coast Guard is investing more than $3 billion annually in major and non-major acquisition programs that purchase and modernize our services, ships, the boats, aircrafts, and all of our C5 ISR systems. This process of recapitalizing older and difficult to maintain assets is essential in order to carry out the Coast Guard's mission. It helps ensure our nation's maritime security. In fiscal year 23, almost 50% of the spend went to small businesses as prime contracts. Of the remaining spend with the Coast Guard, along with our industry partners, they achieved an overall of 44% of subcontract awards to small businesses. On the next slides, we will show the preliminary FY23 year's goals and achievements. You know, not to toot our own horn, but we've done really, really well, and we're very proud of that because we do push for small businesses before anything else, and that's all through market research and, you know, our great KOs and PMs doing that market research. At the Coast Guard, we make sure that we are going above and beyond to utilize small businesses whenever possible. So from this slide, it shows our preliminary goals and achievements from FY23. And also now our FY24 goals were raised slightly higher, and we are already on our way to over exceeding those goals as well. Next slide, please. And so you guys all know, like, Coast Guard is the largest component of DHS. And, you know, so we have been broken down into 6 contracting offices. The Coast Guard, we manage a multi-billion recapitalization investment portfolio of acquisitions across major product lines, including our surface, aviation, and our C5 ISR programs. With such a large and diverse mission to support, our acquisition program has implemented these 6 chief of contracting offices. These COCOs exist to support the major operational programs special to our component. The next few slides, we're going to give you a quick overview of our contracting offices, their locations, and all of the items the offices procure. At this point, I would definitely recommend that you, once you've identified the contracting office that best fits your business capability, you know, write it down, and then you can use the component search criteria in APFS or SAM.gov, and that will be able to minimize your search criteria. And so you're not looking through things your company does not do. And then you'll be able, you know, instead of looking for rotary wings and you're looking for something, this will help minimize that search criteria. And it also will be able to help search for your small business representative assigned to that COCO. So our first one is our Office of Contract Operations, CG912. CG912 supports the acquisition requirements for Coast Guard headquarters and the acquisition of C5I-IT aircraft and marine vessel major systems. CG912 is also responsible for the procurement of major and non-major requirements in support of our headquarters mission partners. This office also supports our academies, our research and development centers, the special mission training centers, so the ones that are located even in Petaluma and down in Charleston, all of our A schools, C schools, and the Uniform Distribution Center. Some items procured are aircrafts, vessels, equipment and supplies that are associated with those, major electronics, also emphasis on oceanography and other marine sciences, including pollution control. They also procure professional consultants, technical engineering, training services, and our medical services. CG912 operates from basically 2 locations, one which is here in Washington, D.C., where at headquarters in the St. Elizabeth campus, and we also have another division down in Chesapeake area. Also, please note that CG912 also buys the assets, but once they are delivered, like example to cutters or air freight platforms, the maintenance and procurement of ongoing platform requirements are purchased by ALC and SFLC, which are the other COCOs that we will discuss on the next few slides. Next one, our next COCO that we have is our Aviation Logistics Center, which we call ALC. And I forgot to know, but if you see right on the bottom left, that's how you can put in to minimize that search criteria, you would put in USCG \ALC or whatever .COCO, and just keep an eye out for the one that pertains to your company. ALC's mission is to provide aviation logistics that enable the Coast Guard's mission execution. This includes a depot level maintenance, engineering, supply, procurement, and information services. At ALC, they support the acquisition requirements for engineering, supply, logistics, and also supporting the maintenance of our aviation fleet and other assigned assets to support the Coast Guard. At ALC in Elizabeth City, they support all that the main primary inventory of the Coast Guard aviation. And that's actually about, I believe it's 1.7 billion. The rest of support is also located at our 25 air stations. So their mission is basically to keep them flying, providing the right stuff, the right time, every time. ALC support also has 204 aircrafts that provide services for 2 fixed wings or 3 fixed wings platforms, rudder wing platforms, and so on. On an average day, ALC ships and receipts for over 700 aircraft parts, responds to over 100 technical engineering questions, performs depot maintenance on aircrafts, has 2 expert field teams that repairs aircraft at air stations. And each day, ALC repairs 500 component parts and manufactures 100-piece parts that support PDM and warehouse supported requirements. Next slide. So our next one is our C5I Service Center, which is also called CG914. And again, when you're on that search criteria, and even though it says APFS, you can also do this for SAM.gov as well. The C5I contract operations supports the acquisition requirements for the C5I Service Center and efforts to sustain, maintain, and acquire new hardware, software, and IT services. C5I's vision for the future is to empower our Coast Guard community with reliable, mobile, and integrated technology. They support primarily everything associated with the IT infrastructure for the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard Network, CG1, and Secure Network. And that includes all the endpoint devices that we use every day. This also covers all of the satellite communications for our ships and our planes. Their main focus and areas of capabilities are the Coast Guard C5I infrastructure, cyber readiness, optimizing software, mobility, and the cloud. Also assessing data for complex decisions in the workplace, and all of the cutters connectivities, which is very important. The C5I Center is broken down actually into 3 buying divisions. Division 1 is located in Alexandria, and their main focus is they develop, deploy, and support the information technology infrastructure for the Coast Guard, and also sensitive, but also unclassified. Division 2 is located in Kearneysville, West Virginia. This division develops, fields, maintains, operates, and provides user support for the Coast Guard enterprise with their information systems to improve our Coast Guard's mission performance through the innovative application of technology. And then our Division 3 is located down in Portsmouth, Virginia. I say down, I'm actually located in headquarters. This division delivers, manages, and supports mission enabling command control, communication, surveillance, and our navigation capabilities. Next slide. So C5IS Vendor Management Office. This is an amazing program, and these guys are your go-to for anything IT. Basically, everything that's listed there. What they do is it functions to oversee, develop, and manage management of capabilities for strategic partnership, communication, performance measurement, compliance, and onboarding and offboarding vendors and workforce labor. So, for example, you guys could reach out to that email on the bottom, and they'll set up a time to just get like a 15-minute conversation with you. They have an amazing category management repository that you can they'll put their vendors capabilities in for all of the C5IS market research. They do a lot of industry roundtables and industry days, and they're highly visible. So I would definitely encourage, if you guys are in that IT spectrum, to reach out to these guys. They are a slew of information. Our next one is our next COGO is our Surface Force Logistics Center, which is SFLC. The Surface Force Logistics Center provides a depot level maintenance. They have engineering, supply, logistics, and information services for all of our Coast Guard surface force. That includes over, I think it's 200 cutters and over about 1,800 small boats. SFLC's Coast Guard mission is ready today and preparing for tomorrow. The United States Coast Guard is military, multi-mission maritime service within the Department of Homeland Security and one of the nation's 6 armed services. Its core roles are to protect the public, the environment, and the U.S. economic and security interests in any maritime region in which those interests may be at risk, including international waters and USA's coasts, ports, and inland waterways. SFLC provides a comprehensive, effective, and efficient contracting support to the various branches of those product lines and shared service divisions. They manage the procurement of supplies, program depot maintenance, engineering services, and anything else, and any other services for our surface force. Their main areas of support include our dry dock, our dockside repairs for our vessels, any ship maintenance like painting, janitorial, facility maintenance at our Coast Guard yards. There's also any overhaul, repair, and purchase of turbines, medium and high-speed diesel engines, support services for engineering and technology, and any financial management and audit support services are procured from SFLC.
Right. Hey, Jennifer, because I know we want to make this interactive. And,
yeah.
And since you're on this slide and you're talking about, actually it was the previous slide. I'm sorry, folks. I'm going to kind of slide back here. And you were talking about this, of course, the vendor management company.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a question that came in.
Okay.
And this is a company that is a data analytics consulting services company, and wanted to check how do they schedule a capability briefing specific to data analytics?
Yeah, so you would reach out to that vendor relations email, and just let them I would encourage you to say, hey, this is our have your capability statement included in that attached into the email, and just basically say, I would like to set up an appointment for a 15 to 30 minute, just so that we can go over our vendor capabilities and let them know who you guys are. Also give like a little bit of a synopsis of your company and within that email address.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, back to this slide.
Okay, so I just finished with that side, so I believe we're up to LOCOM now. LOCOM. I'm still trying to figure out how to say that acronym. So LOCOM actually used to be called DOL 9, and they just changed the name to this one, which is the Office of Procurement and Contracting Operational Logistics Command. So even though they just changed their name, there might be some solicitations out there at APFS and SAM.gov that might still say DOL 9, but you could also include in there the USCG /LOGCOM, and that will help minimize your search criteria as well. The LOGCOM, formerly known as DOL 9's area of responsibility, they include 2 formal contracting offices. One is located in Norfolk, Virginia, and the other one is in Alameda, California. They have oversight of over more than 24 simplified acquisition offices across the bases and our training centers. The primary area of responsibility is awarding and administering contracts and orders for the operational logistics functions. So it's anything from our facilities, operational payments to support the facilities on our Coast Guard bases and training centers, and also supporting all of the fleet and food services. So some items procured include our base operations and maintenance service for the East Coast and West Coast, food service, janitor, utilities, grounds and housing maintenance services, oil pollution, and emergency response contracting. And our last but not least, and believe it or not, Silicon is huge, and there is a lot of different small business representatives that represent certain areas for this construction. But Silicon, which is our Shore Infrastructure Logistics Center, exercises technical authority and applies configuration standards to develop and enforce tactics, techniques, and procedures to acquire, maintain, alter, refurbish, and dispose of shore facilities. It helps to enable our Coast Guard missions execution and operations in support of public safety and homeland security. They also include providing for the acquisition, the program depot maintenance, major repairs and modifications of our Coast Guard shore facilities, and fixed dates to navigation. It also includes technical and logistical supports in addition to managing our shore facility related programs, such as our real properties and environmental compliance. The Silicon supports acquisitions of the complete life cycle. So it's of shore facilities ranging from property acquisitions, the design of the acquisition, construction, our depot level maintenance and repair, and then any eventual demolition. Some items procured are our major construction projects, involving our piers, our wharfs, our buildings, our housing, our warehouses, any schools that might be on a Coast Guard base, and also, any training schools, building alterations, architecture, and engineering services. I am going to now transfer it back over to Jen, where she will explain how we buy, and all of the resources that apply for that. Over to you, Jen.
Thank you, Micheline. Okay, so how do we buy? So the Coast Guard recognizes the importance of collaboration during acquisition planning, and we take full advantage of the management tools and acquisition strategies and resources to meet mission requirements. Strategies and resources used to procure goods and services include mandatory sources of supplies and services under FAR Part 8, existing and open market contracts to reach a mix of new entrants and seasoned industry partners, maximizing the use of the 8A program, taking advantage of category management and government-wide contracts under GSA's Federal Supply Schedule, and the use of innovative buying practices, to just name a few. Next slide. So again, There we go. Perfect. Okay. So again, how do we buy? So this is our roadmap. As you can see, you have different, as you're going down the road, you have different off-ramps, depending on where the acquisition, where the market research is taking us. So you have you see one of them, the DHS S&T SBIR program. That's mandated by the Small Business Innovation Research and Development Act of 1982, right? And subsequent modifications and extensions. You have unsolicited proposals under FAR 15.6, right? So that sets forth that policy and procedures for unsolicited proposals. You have other transaction authority, right? So legally binding agreements exempt from the federal acquisition regulation. So unlike contracts and grants and cooperative agreements, OTAs allow DHS to work with non-traditional contractors that would otherwise not do business with the federal government because of strict intellectual property and government cost accounting standard requirements. Next slide. So we'll get into a little bit here of research, development, test and evaluation and innovation program. So the Coast Guard's Research, Development, Test and Evaluation and Innovation Program is the Coast Guard's leading office conducting applied RDT&E experimentations and demonstrations. So at any given time, they're working on more than 40 research and innovation projects that support Coast Guard requirements spanning 11 mission areas. And please use that QR code on the side that will take you directly to their website for more information. Next slide. So a little bit more about the Research and Development Center. So the RDT&E Innovation Program brings value to the organization by investing in new ideas and technologies to help the Coast Guard better perform its missions now and in the future. Projects typically fall into 5 main program areas that you see here. We encourage you to contact the Research and Development Center directly, as this gets you in front of the decision makers themselves. Next slide.
Oh, I'm sorry, Michelle. I wanted to interrupt here again, keeping it interactive. I've got a question about as far as they hadn't seen a contracting center that seems to support acquisition of the Coast Guard's intelligence and support, i.e. collection, analysis, and linguistics. Could we possibly kind of give an answer as to how to let them know what office would be best to engage for these services?
Yeah, so I would begin to engage with the Office of Contract Right Operations, CG912. If you want to use those QR codes to find further information and contact them directly, they will be able to point you in the right direction to a specific office for that information.
All right, thank you.
The main office, if you would, if you're just starting to do your market research and looking for that area, you would put in CG-912.
Excellent. Thank you, Micheline. Okay, so next here, so maritime, so this would be your ML and AI research and strategy, right? So maritime domain awareness ensures the world's vast oceans, safety, security, and efficient navigation. The U.S. Coast Guard has identified it in its strategic plan that rapidly advancing technologies, including artificial intelligence and machine learning, must be harnessed for possible use in our mission execution. The ability to detect, locate, characterize, identify, and track people and or objects in the water in near or real time can improve mission support to meet the needs of the Coast Guard today and in the foreseeable future. In order to meet the challenges of an increasingly dynamic operational environment, the Coast Guard must adapt to the rapid pace of technological development. Unmanned systems play a key role and hold great promise to improve Coast Guard mission excellence. Next slide. The Blue Tech Technology Center of Expertise. So Blue Tech Technology is defined by Congress as any technology, system, or platform that is designed for use or application above, on or below the sea surface, or that is otherwise applicable to Coast Guard operational needs. So this includes any technology, system, or platform that provides continuous or persistent coverage and supports or facilitates the Coast Guard's 11 missions. So the Blue Technology Center of Expertise is the Coast Guard's official conduit to the Technology Center, seeking innovative ocean force technologies to enhance the service missions. So the product or service that requires demonstration, right? So if you have something that is, you feel requires demonstration, please reach out directly to Blue Tech. So this team frequently schedules industry tech demos. So this is a great way to get in front of Coast Guard senior leadership if you have something unique that supports the mission. Next slide, I'm going to hand this back over to Micheline.
Thank you, Jen. So the next few slides, they're fairly quickly because we're heading towards the end of our time. And we're going to be talking about our industry engagement, our outreach activities, and resources. So of course, what we're doing right now is we're engaging with you guys. We're here open, wanting to listen and hear about your capabilities and building those conversations. What I love to tell people is, now you have a name. You have a name here. So my name's Micheline, right? The conversation just doesn't end right here. You guys can reach out to us and ask any more questions that you guys might have. This part of our job is to engage with you guys. And quite honestly, this is actually one of my favorite parts of my job. So well, here we go. Prepare. It's already here. So in order to have successful conversations and engagement, it's important to prepare, right? So you guys are here, you're preparing, you're learning, you're getting familiar with how to do business with us, right? Have a strategic plan and do your research on the Coast Guard. There are some great resources out there to get more familiar with us, to learn more about us and our strategic plan. Subscribe to APFS, subscribe to sam.gov. Read out there what's coming down the line. APFS is a fantastic tool because it has anything, APFS stands for Acquisition Planning Forecast System. And that's anything coming down the line from 3 to 5 years from now. How many of you guys have heard of APFS? Because I know sometimes I'll meet people and I don't know that they've never heard of it. So can you let's make it a little interactive. Raise your hand if you have heard of APFS. No. Yeah, it's not everyone, right? So basically get familiar with it. Subscribe to APFS. It literally has, the things to prepare you to see what's coming out there. Also respond, participate. Participate in industry days and reverse industry days, our matchmaking events, webinars that we might be hosting. And it's not just our office, our C5I, they do a lot of them. They have a lot of industry days. SilCon, they'll have a lot of industry days. So you just have to put those keywords in. Make sure when you're in there, you're providing, you're writing Coast Guard Industry Day or Coast Guard webinar. And that will help minimize the search engine on sam.gov. Also, one thing is definitely respond to RFIs and RFQs, right? A lot of our KOs and our PMs, they put those out there because they just need to see and doing their market research on who's out there that can do these things, So respond, let them know that you guys are out there. That's how you'll get your name out there.
And if you would, Michelle and Jennifer, I emphasize this along with them and echo.
Yes.
By all means, when it comes to RFIs and sources sought, help shape the discussion.
Right.
So again, respond to RFIs and sources sought way before just waiting for the RFP to drop.
Right.
Become a part of the solution.
Absolutely. Yes. Next slide, please. So here are some of the programs and activities that we conduct. We do a lot of company briefings. We have our email address, which is openforbusiness@uscg.mil. We'll have people, they'll send over some information. And usually what I do is I'll send over to you some useful links, some things to get you more familiar with us. And, these links that we do provide actually do offer really good information and will help you to navigate it. But if you still feel that you still would like to have a deeper conversation, set up an appointment with us. We usually have 15 20-minute meetings set aside for meeting with Industry Day. It might not be the next day, but we will squeeze you guys in for sure. We also have webinars. We do conduct webinars throughout the year. So look out for those. Look out for Coast Guard webinar. Put it in the sam.gov. All of these are actually anything that we do with webinars, reverse industry days, roundtables. It's all posted on our sam.gov site. And so that's how you'll find any upcoming events. Yeah, so definitely just do that. The next couple of slides are some of our great, some useful links for you guys. So I saw in the chat, which just popped up, how do you register for APFS? Get on that site. It'll give you all of the information on how to register to get onto the planning forecast system. It is a great tool. And so a couple of these next slides will have some of them, some procurement opportunities and acquisition resources for you. And you can go, let me see. Doing business with, yeah. And okay. So just a couple of things I do like to point out on this slide is we have our mentor protege program through DHS for all of those new companies that are still trying to get their footing in the door. It is a great program that DHS offers. We also have this DHS monthly vendor outreach session. So this is actually hosted by OSDBU. And what's great about these vendor outreach sessions, you're not just going to meet with Coast Guard. You're going to meet with CBP. You're going to meet with FEMA. You're going to meet with CSA. And you'll have all these other components. What I do say is, you got to make sure when you get on that DHS monthly vendor outreach session, grab your appointments as the minute they open because they do book up quickly. I sit in a lot of those. Jen has sat in a few of those. It's great opportunities. They also, if you're interested in subcontracting, DHS, the OSDBU office will also have prime contractors there for you to meet with to build that joint venture relationship as well. Next slide. We don't really have time for this, but this is the APFS site that we were talking about. And so you could go in and you'll see the different ways to, for the search criteria. We just have that on there for you guys, just to go over it eventually if you guys have time to go on and look at it. And I believe the last slide is our information. Yes. So the last slide is our information. So we have our Open for Business site. And also there is a USCG vendor and supplier registration. So you can enter in that information as well. Thank you so much. We do have a few minutes. So if anyone has any other questions for Jen and I, we are here to talk. If not, you can submit a question to us on our Open for Business. And if I don't know the answer, if Jen doesn't know the answer, we will find someone who does have the answer.
Okay, and now I have from our prior pre-registration and everything, is there any major, as far as needs at this time, when you say, hey, folks, we need some folks to go over here and take a look at these opportunities? And second question would be, as far as the fiscal year 2025, as far as those forecasts, is there information in which we could go and find to see what the fiscal year 2025 is looking like, or shaping up to be. I know that was a loaded question, huh?
No, this is Jennifer. Micheline, do you want me to take that? The second part of that.
Please.
So as far as FY,
yes,
no, you're
definitely.
welcome. Sure. So as far as like FY25, right? So APFS is going to be that acquisition, the planning forecast system. That is going to be a very great and useful resource, right? So if everybody can subscribe there, that is going to be that resource that's going to show you those forecasted procurements, right? So those are for over that certain dollar value that we indicated on the slide, right? We are required to forecast those. Taking a look at also, GSA has something very similar, right? So they have that, nationwide. Keeping an eye out, for those RFIs, those sources sought, those industry days, right? So we are often and early communicating for those FY25 requirements. As far as, for right now, right, where is that need? That need is, new entrants, right? We want, new and more businesses, right, to join our industry base. Because as, we discussed a little bit earlier, we have our aging assets, right, and recapitalizing on those. So we are always looking for those new entrants. So if you were to ask, those top three, types of issues or something that is pressing, those would be the two. And then just please register for all of these different sites. And get down and be able to receive those notifications, coming, from the Coast Guard. Those are the ways that we will communicate, and that you'll never miss, any information coming forward. So, Mr. James, I hope that answers your questions.
Yes, ma'am, it does. And we have another question. Is 8A Stars 3 opportunities available for IT systems type support?
What I would do is I would contact our C5I. So go contact them, directly, right? And they'll be able to provide, any information as they're able, right, in regards to fair opportunity, right, under an already established contract vehicle. But that is exactly where you're going to be able to find some of that information there, as well as under that contract vehicle itself.
Okay. All right. Well, I tell you what, we're going to yield the remainder of this afternoon back to Jennifer and Micheline. We greatly appreciate it. Again, on behalf of BidExecs, Proposal Helper, and of course, United States Coast Guard, we greatly appreciate all of you attending. Micheline, Jennifer, we've got to do this again, and hopefully, let's say the fourth quarter of this year, so that we'll have that 2025 budget. And again, this is very helpful, and we are so grateful for having you all, sharing your time and everything with us.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So everyone, again, thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.
Bye.